I'm very excited for this. Volker participated in the operator roundtable last year and had a much shorter period of time to tell his story. So I'm really excited for this because he's going to talk about a very real use case of scaling up USP to the next order of magnitude of devices and how successful that's been. So take it away.
Well, thank you, Jason. Very warm welcome to scaling up USB at Deutsche Telekom. My name is Volker Effelsberg. I'm product owner. And as Jason said, I presented the ideas or our plans for USB at Deutsche Telekom on the last operator roundtable in September last year. And today I would like to give you an update. So what did we reach in 2023? And how does it look like? So how does it work? And I would like to give you also a live demo to show our use case. And finally, I would give you a short outlook about our near future, our use cases, what we are going to build. So very quickly, you know Deutsche Telekom probably at least as a sponsor of this meeting. We are a big telecommunication provider for mobile and fixed line networks. I have IPTV and also business customer products. So coming to the remote management, this is how it looks like. So we have a TR-069 stack and an Axios as ACS running. And with this, we are managing, is there the mouse? Yeah, here. We are managing 11 million devices, telecom Speedport Smart platform, as well as open market devices. We have main use cases are first-time usage provisioning of our services for the customer care support. Excuse me. So the customer care will, for each and every call of the customer, connect to our system and look up what devices we have and firmware versions, things like that, and firmware updates. So, and it became clear some years ago that customers have issues in their home network, and we as a provider wanted to support them there also. So Telekom built up a home network analytics system and did a deep integration of this in our Speedport Smart series so that we harvest home network data from our devices and quite successfully support the service. But as you see here, these devices are left out of the solution. The open market or third-party devices we could not have there. And as I was promoting USB since over 2 years at Deutsche Telekom, I was not successful in convincing the stakeholders to invest in USB. But this was exactly now the moment, the turning point, when we said, okay, you have the possibility to add value to this home network analytics system by scaling further devices by connecting open market devices, AVM Fritz boxes via USB to our system. So this was like a magical turning point for me. So that all the demos we did before, okay, they made the people aware of USB at least. But this was a use case when the people said, or the stakeholders didn't ask anymore, why do we use or why do we need USB? They said, when are you ready? So this was really a turning point for us. So we kicked off a project last year to make this happen. And here are some results. At the very end of last year, we onboarded 1 million AVM Fritzboxes via USP. We did it very carefully. You see that in several steps here, but it went all very smoothly. So USP is the basis, and we also need a customer consent to enable then this harvesting of home network data. So Telekom has introduced a special customer consent for this, so that the customer agrees in sharing his home network data for support reasons. And for customers who have given their data privacy consent, we also provide configure the bulk data profile, where we then start to collect bulk data, home network data via the USB bulk data collections. So this is periodic. You can set a timer. So, for example, every 5 minutes, you want to have the data from the home network, and you specify in the data model the parameters which you want to see. Okay. So we make use of USP, and we are quite proud of this. We have to say that it's running so smoothly. And we also have, I think we are here in a standardization forum. You might be very interested in features, but we as an operator were also very interested in operability, so robustness and things like that. And yeah, by incident, something like this happened just recently, that some network glitch led to a connection loss of all devices. So you can see there we are using WebSockets as MTP. So all connections were lost, and then the network was established again. So we and all devices are coming back, and you see here it runs off smoothly within 15 minutes. So we could have rolled out also within 15 minutes, we could have rolled out the 1 million devices. So this is something we are extremely happy about, to have this stable, powerful deployment we can now build on for further things. So what is it about? I would like to share now a live demo. Here we go. Yeah. So here you see my home. Nice. It's a nice home, isn't it? It's an AVM Fritzbox and 2 repeaters attached. The one repeater is on a power plug, and I now want to switch that one on remotely. Okay. Yeah, so that should be this way. Come on. So don't expect too much at the moment, because here you see some kind of a timestamp. So the last update was 2 minutes ago. As I said, we have a period of 5 minutes time. So the updated data will come in approximately 3 minutes. So I have a little bit of time to talk you through these, what you see here. You see the router model, and the extender, and all the devices which are attached. Because my family is currently out, there's not so much happening here. I created some extra clients extra for you for this presentation to make it more busy. Yeah. And if you look here more closely into the topology and into the devices themselves, and you see here a clear overview. It's a mesh repeater behind the Fritzbox, and this is having devices attached, some with a problematic RSSI value, and yes, all the other information. So let me try to update. No, it's not there already. So still 2 minutes to go. This is some, yes.
Is that a tool that end customers are using, or is that more of a monitoring tool that you are using internally?
This tool is used by the customer service agent in the case the customer has issues and calls customer service. So was this the question? Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I do another refresh. So there's a reason to let you wait, because yeah, we are going to introduce something to help this issue, because this is the #1 demand now to improve from our customer service colleagues, because they can't wait within a call for some minutes to see changes they agreed with the customer. So they need a fresh response. And USB offers quite a lot of, an excellent opportunity to do this. At least USB is a real-time thing. So we have ideas to improve this, to avoid this kind of waiting. So let's see. So 1 minute. So wow, it worked. It's yes. So so now the garden repeater here is on, and it is also containing some devices here, and we can have a closer look. It's also a chained architecture here, so the daisy chain where the one repeater is behind the other one, and here in this case, there's also so the customer might think, well, this is a good example for use case. The customer, if you see this kind of topology and this kind of connection of the devices, the customer who is behind this last repeater here with the USB device, for example, this customer might think, okay, I have a brilliant Wi-Fi reception, right? It's all green on my side. On my mobile phone, I have my bars are all full, the Wi-Fi bars. But I'm suffering. I don't have real good connection. So why is it? It's because the repeater here, as you see this, is connected and with some poor connection. So that's the reason the customer can't see, and the customer care agent can then clearly understand the topology of the customer and understand this kind of issue. And this is quite popular that at least in Germany, that clients or customers put their repeaters there where they want to have internet, where they want to improve it. So this is exactly the use case here. Okay. Good. So coming to our next steps, we will roll out another 1 million devices with further AVM Fritzbox models within this month. And we will introduce a real-time function. As you all waited with me for the next bulk collection to come. And this is called, it's already a feature which is in the data model. So it's a command, the USB command is called force collection. And basically what we do is we grab it out here and put it in here into this into the GUI. So this is basically what we do. This means we have nothing to invest or to implement to make this happen on the CPE side. It's already there because it's supporting the standard. So no implementation needed there, thanks to AVM. And also on the ACS side, there's nothing to invest. We use just a generic method, which is using a command, a USB command. So no invest here. So this shows, so this is the only thing we have to do is to offer a new API on our enterprise bus to make this new feature, a real-time feature, happening in our network. The only thing we have to do is offering a new API, which can be consumed then by this home network analytics system. So this is quite convincing for me. It's that USP is, yeah, quite good scalable in terms of volume of devices, number of devices, and also in terms of functionality. So once you have a powerful deployment, you can build on it. We have also a lot of other ideas what we can improve, but I just want to leave it here for the moment. And yeah, basically I really can recommend USB. And if you see the use case in your company or the opportunity to go for an USB implementation, then grab it with both hands. That's what we that's a big chance, and you can build on it. Yes, yeah, and finally, I would like to heartfully thank our powerful partners in this project. It was a lot of fun working with Axiros. And we built with Axiros now an integrated remote management where we have the synergies between TR-069 and USP. And the other partner was AVM. So thanks so much. It was such a fruitful and constructive cooperation where we could bring something together which really makes sense in real life in our network, and where we can build on with a lot of further ideas and use cases. So thank you very much.
Wojciech?
Hi, Wojtek Makowski, Orange. A question, in which way the CP authenticates that it's your USB controller and not of somebody else?
Yeah, let me step back. What we built here is an integrated multi-protocol remote management. So we have in the back end both a dual stack implementation of TR-069 and USB. The same applies here to the AVM Fritzbox. It's also dual stack. So what we do is that we take the boxes out of our existing TR-069 management. So we know them already. So, and for the onboarding, so what we do here, we just configure the USB management server via TR-069.
But this is my question is for the other direction. How, because this is a retail device, right?
Yeah.
How the retail device knows that the USB controller that tries to connect is the right one.
It's the other way around. The device connects to the USB management server, to the USB controller, and you need to configure the USB device as a USB agent.
So it's the end user that configures that when it buys it in the retail?
It's a so we do it from our remote management. With our integrated remote management, we already have the box. So we have an existing remote management relationship to that specific device. And-
Okay, sorry, that's my wrong understanding, because I believe that the end user buys in retail a CPE and brings it home.
Okay. Yes, that's true. So we're talking about open market devices, third
Right.
party, and really this is a use case, and when the user is setting up a Fritzbox in a telecom network and he uses the assistant to do this, so so at least for the initial setup of this Fritzbox, he needs to go into the GUI of the router and select the telecom profile. And but this is setting up the TR-069 relationship.
Yeah, but that's the authentication method.
Yeah, so that's the kind of selection a user takes there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Volker. I would have two questions, if I may. First, you mentioned very interesting, I think especially for Germany, the consent of users. So customers have to consent to collect data. How are you collecting that, and how successful are you in getting customers to opt in?
Yes. So what Telekom did, we put it in the AGBs, Allgemeine Geschäftsbedingungen. That so this is a frame contract for everything. So if customer signs any new product within the fixed line business, he would normally then get this consent. Well, we are selling him or her a zero cost product, which is called home network support. So he gets a product for free, which is exactly what I showed you, which is this home network support. And if you you can opt out if you like, but this is a very powerful way to bring in volume. Yeah. And because no customer will opt in for this service he never knew, so there's no way. So well, we put it in the base contract for any product, and then the customer consent is included.
Okay, thank you. And the second question would be, on this first slide, you showed the telecom routers, the speedport platforms, still going via TR-69. Interesting. And only AVM going via USP. Do you see anything in your USP trial that you cannot do with TR-69? And what are your plans for the speedport platform?
Yeah, so it's a good point. Thank you. So what the question is, why don't we use here USB on our own platform? Okay. So we are in the process to enable also USB on our Speedport Smart platform, but yes. So this answers, I think it was two questions. The one thing is why we don't have it, and the second one is differences. Yeah. So if you look at this picture, you see here some differences. So we have here a deep integration of this home network analytics system into the router, which is quite also an invest or effort. And if you have a standard implementation and you can make use of that, you can save this. And the second thing is also, it always comes out to the same question. On the left side of this picture, on the right side, so you see you have the proprietary solution or you have the standard, right? And maybe you are quicker with the proprietary solution, but on the long term, you can't scale the functions and so on, and you can't address the open market devices. So at least these open market, so these AVM Fritzboxes where the door opener, I have to admit for us as a provider to introduce a core remote management functionality in our backend systems.
So what Volker did was he strapped the snail to the rocket. And now everybody is convinced, all right.
David from Orange. So you did a migration from TR-069 to USP. How hard was it? Could you share a little bit, some information there? Were there some changes that you need to do from the USP controller ACS to your OSS, BSS systems? How did that go?
Okay, thank you very much. So we didn't do a migration at all. We just added the USP capability. And I'm a big fan of this because it now become to this integrated multi-protocol management. And I just, and this has already been very highly integrated in our OSS BSS services. So for customer authentication, checking the customer consent, checking the services the customer has booked. So everything. So this was also exactly the reason I wanted to start with this point in the presentation to show you, okay, there's already a lot of stuff existing in our remote management. And we don't want to migrate everything to USP. We just leave what we already have and what is running very well, where we worked 10 years for. The last 10 years for. So we have no need to migrate, but we have a big need to reuse this very same integration for the USP part. And then if you do this, you come to this integrated multi-protocol remote management. So the USP part has the same capabilities. You reuse the same integration you have in the service workflows, as in customer care workflows, and into the other telecom backend systems. You can just reuse them.
It's basically the last use case I showed yesterday in the code system. So.
Yeah, but it's always nice that you have an operator telling to the other operators that they don't need to be afraid to go from TR-069 to USP.
Yeah. So my recommendation is to add USP with a new use case, right? Which is not where you can't do it with TR-069. So if you have a good use case for USP, then take this one as an opportunity to basically USP as an enabler, right? It doesn't have any service by its own. You need to make it valuable, you need use cases for it. And if you find this kind of use case, grab it with both hands and go for it.
An additional questions to make this picture more complex. Maybe I got it wrong, but my belief was that your own CPs also use Webpa. No?
We have an RDK plans, and these RDK plans foresee a Webpa remote management protocol. That's true. But
so how you will deal with that? Because you will have basically 3 different ways of collecting data.
Yeah, this is true. This is a completely independent way from this picture. It is not standardized Webpa, but for RDK routers, this is a choice to go for Webpa. Unfortunately, I have to admit I would personally prefer USP, obviously. But this was a decision taken quite a long ago, and so that's the situation we are in.
Sorry, it's not in use at the moment.
Yeah.
So Webpa is still in the works. It's currently not used. So at the moment, this is almost a complete picture. It's a little bit more, but.
Maybe I can try to
Okay, sorry.
question related to the RDK. If we talk about RDK at Deutsche Telekom, then we have also the option to transfer the data from the RDK system onto this home network analytics system. So doesn't matter if you have WebPA underneath or USP or something like that.
Okay, so
yeah, so that would be done on the picture third router with an own backend, and the data then goes from the backend to the home network analytics system. Just the data.
I have another question related to USP and WebPA. How would you compare both protocols? And are there any lessons that we could are there any lessons that we could learn from your WebPA story where we could do improvements to the USP protocol itself?
So I'm a bit struggling because this question also might have political background for. So technical wise, I would say WebPA is not a standard. It's an open source implementation. So in my personal opinion, not speaking for Deutsche Telekom, but for my opinion as I wouldn't, so USP is much more powerful, right? You saw it with these, if you take the example of force collection, which is a feature we now will introduce, it comes basically for free. So you don't have to implement a lot. So not on the ACI side, not in the AVM side. And so you can scale functional wise with low effort, and I don't see this with WebPA.
So along those lines, because I was going to ask about when you mentioned that there was initial pushback moving from the TR-069 stuff. The thing that pulled the trigger was the fact that you were just going to do it on a new use case, right? So was there initial pushback because they didn't want to change the TR-069 stuff?
Yeah, it was a lucky moment for me. So this, so a magical moment for me to see. Okay, bam, people want it, and just take the opportunity, go for it, and make it happen. And and once again I want to thank our partners Xeros and AVM. This was also a very good situation in that we could make this project happen and successful, right? We couldn't have made it on our own, I would assume.
Hello, Wojciech from Ecotera. I have a follow-up question to the Wojciech's questions, but the first one about the onboarding of the retail gateway, right? So you mentioned that you're asking your customers to go to the web interface and configure the ACS URL or select a profile. Why not just use a standard ACS discovery mechanism for that?
Yeah, so in terms of the CPE needs to know to which ACS to contact, right? And the ACS is obviously different if I am in a Vodafone network or in a telecom network. So you need the telecom profile on the ACS on the CPE selected, that the CPE can then contact the ACS.
Right. I mean, this is understood, but I kind of assume that if you are on your home Deutsche Telekom network, then you could deliver the ACS URL using either the HCP-based option or the NSSD-based option, or I don't know, maybe PPPoE-based option. I mean, asking the user to do anything over web UI, I know it's not easy, right? So you had to have a good reason for that.
Yes, so I have to admit there's also room for improvement. We are in cooperation with AVM on this to come also there to zero-touch provisioning. With our Speedport smart telecom routers, we obviously have this, or naturally have zero-touch provisioning, so your customer doesn't need to go into the router GUI. But this is currently not the case for AVM routers or open market devices. But we are working on it. It's, yeah.
I can add some historical background on this because, as you can see from my gray hair, I was doing this in the past. So, obviously our own routers they talk to our ACS and they are authenticated there, right? So we don't need any discovery for the ACS URL for that. But for the AVM Fritz boxes, when we onboarded them with TR-069. Obviously also AVM said, well, we need the consent as AVM from your customers, which are also our customers as AVM. And therefore we want our customers that they go into the GUI and they choose the right provider and they say, yes, I want to be part of the remote management support for Deutsche Telekom. That's why we did it like that. And this is so basically historically driven.
Yeah. Makes sense. Thank you.
Volker. Good presentation. Thank you. I have one question. So you've done this with AVM collaboration, but I think in Germany, customer has a right to choose any router vendor, right? So do you plan, or do you see this as able to scale to cover that whole estate? And what's your thinking there?
Yes, there's router freedom in Germany. The freedom to select any router. That's true. Also, I would be happy, and this is also a reason I would like to advertise for USP. So if so each and every router manufacturer OEM to integrate USP into their portfolio or into their roadmap, so that we can then do the same thing also with other models, right? But for us in our network, in the telecom network here in Germany, AVM is very, very prominent. And this is by numbers, by far the most important open market device for us.
You can basically use whatever device you want, but the customers want that.
but you can kind of use this because you're adding some extra value to the customer here in the long term. So yeah. You can almost influence their choice about router, right?
Maybe.
One
more question, because here we are concentrated on the USP, but
I would say USP is the easy part. What is more challenging is but how much of TR-181 that you need behind it is actually available, because there are some use cases that's fine. So is my understanding correct that what is provided as data models that USP provides is what you need for your main use cases, right? This is not the entire TR-181 data tree.
So we obviously we use selected parameters out of TR-181, but it's such a powerful thing, this data model and the standardization of this data model, where we can select things out of this, like this force collection, or we are looking now in other topics like fiber assurance and looking what can we do there with a with a perspective of the device on the ONT connection. Also, the moment we are now in the game, in the USP game, things come to us. It's not that we always have to run after them, right? Things are, we just need to grab them now. And this is such a beautiful situation to be in. Yeah, so we just profit from the data model, from the TR-181, and yeah. So this is what I would like to share with you.
All right. There was more question I had that I now forgot what it was, but no, this is really,
Mirja, Defender.
So you presented the topology of the network there. Based on what information did you construct that topology, and is the router the only device that talks USP in the network?
So the information is basically coming from the IEEE 1905 topology information that we have in the data model. And what was the second question?
If it was the single USB device in the network, the router. Well, or there are multiple devices.
Yeah, I was going to ask that same thing. So when that information is not coming from USP directly, right?
That is coming from USP. Yeah. So the other connected devices, they're basically just exchanging the information using data elements. So it's a different standard. But this is really only the home gateway is the one that actually has the USP connection.
Hi, this is Elif from LifeMod. I want to add something to that analytics question. So in the overview, I see some metrics on latency, jitter, etc. And we see here the RSSIs for the devices. Is this, are these all of them are like on-demand, on-click analysis, or actually in general sense, I wonder where are you at exploiting the USP, like the data, the USP data model offers, like, and how do you see the feature of it? How do you vision it? Where do you want to take the analytics platform?
What was the last? Where do we want to?
Yeah, but how do you vision the feature of the analytics platform?
Yeah, okay, okay, yes. So let's start with the last question. The future of the analytics platform is, I think, quite promising, right? Because it's heavily used and it's just helping the customer, helping the service agent or the care agent to understand these kind of problems I was demonstrating. And as Daniel mentioned, this data is coming now via the USB connection, and we are using the TR-181 data model for it. It's not completely modeled, but this is a detail now. There are some vendor-specific proprietary extensions to make this mesh topology possible. As Daniel mentioned, it's a IEEE 1905. We have used this is the way it is now, but basically we are founded on the standard data model, standard tier 181.
Okay. Wow. That was excellent. Thank you, Volker.